one go.
Makes me sound like the second coming.
That's right. But is there a history of long life in your family, George?
Yes, my father was 101 when he died.
101.
Never had a day's illness, and walked out in the morning that he conked out. He was an old sailor. He was captain once of one of the old ships, you know. And but I was telling Dr. Florence about it up in the mountains, and he said, "How old was you?" He said, "You're in pretty good nick, you know." I said, "I'm terribly sorry, Doctor." You know, the line. So he said, "You know," he said, "It's fantastic, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, that's right." He said, "Your father was 101, I believe." I said, "Yes, he was 101. Never had a day's illness." He said, "Longevity, that's it," he said, "hereditary." That, he said, and of course, he said, "I must have been very careful with his food." I said, "Oh, yes, his diet was very simple." He said, "What did he eat and drink?" I said, "Well, we used to live in Parnell in the suburb, and he'd smell the bread cooking up the street, and he'd say, 'Boy, go up and get a double loaf.' And I'd bring it back, and it was steaming hot, you know. I could use the white of a tomato figures with. And he'd cut about a 2-inch slice off this, onto which he'd whack about an inch of Dairy Association butter, and he'd love that to be down. And I'd say, 'Would you like a cup of tea, Dad?' 'Yes, boy.' Stand the spoon up. So I'd make him a blue, black, purple cup of tea, you know, which was almost solid, into which he'd put 2 big heaped dessert spoons full of white sugar. He'd stir it up and he'd down that. He liked roast beef, and it had about 2 inches of fat on, make us sick to look at. He'd down that. Then he had what he called his clagger. Every weekend, Mum would make him clagger. It was a suet pudding, and he'd eat about half of that. Well, that was his diet, and the doctor said, 'I'll go, thank you.'"
George, before the show, was saying, Michael, that with my surname Newton, he believes that we originally came from New Zealand, the Newtons. And I've got an uncle who, you know, I think it's the 25th of August. His birthday, he would be 98.
Really?
It affected them.
What about the characters that, as I say, you were in the 20s and 30s, you were part of this great bohemian life in Sydney, weren't you?
Well, yes, that is right. It was bohemian. It was, it was an easier way of life. I mean to say, that was the horse and carriage days, traps and things like that, you know, where you didn't worry too much about making dollars. And they used to have the bohemian, there were about half a dozen bohemian, well, more or less eating houses they were. And they'd plan out where they were going to go. And they used to go to these bohemian turnouts, and there was Dulcie Deemer and B. Miles and quite a number more like that to go up there. But there were also expert singers, dancers, painters. I'd do some caricatures for them, a lot of the musicians. And over and above all, you'd get some of these actors from the theatre next door. Her Majesty's Theatre used to be next door to one of the bohemian joints up there. And they used to come into these lovely old fur collars and fur coats and red waistcoats with the, they never used to stay put after about midnight.